We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Nicole Byer, helping you make those rooms flyer. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild! Like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Ooh, fierce! This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Yeah, there's literally a cat walking in front of me right now.
It's so good. It's the closest it's ever been to the microphone. I love it.
Rue, I'm going to need you to be not here.
Oh, the tail knocking away the pop filter?
Is there anything you'd like to say? Last chance. Okay, bye. Sorry, let me do that again.
We found our intro to the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, the Knicks refusing to lose to trading for Josh Hart and playing him in basketball games. It's Adam Mamawala. Adam, how's it going?
It's going well. Probably not as well as it's going for you and for all Knicks fans. Are you wearing a Knicks sweatshirt right now?
I am. It is a collaboration sweatshirt between the Knicks and the hype drop, I don't know what to call them, semi-hype beast-ish brand, New York or Nowhere, but it is officially, where's the patch? There it is. No one can see this. This is just for the audio. But yes, it is an official Knicks hoodie.
Yeah, you've worn it once before that I've seen, and I'll be honest, I admire much of your wardrobe, but I think that one's at the top of the list.
Thank you. It is very nice. It is very soft, and they're not paying me to say this, so no more discussion of the sweater.
But you know who's not soft is Josh Hart, who plays hard all the time.
He really does. You could
call
him
Jason
Josh
Tatum.
Hard. That was things like that just make me really happy that there are people in the NBA who do silly things like I do on the court. And it just makes me happy to know that he's just like a normal guy. Like what happened, for anyone unaware, is Jason Tatum got a technical foul at one point in the game. He got a second technical foul later in the game for arguing with a ref. And if you get 2 technical fouls in a game, you get ejected. And after he yelled at the ref and got ejected, Jason Tatum then got very upset that he was ejected and yelled some more. And then Josh Hart went, oh, whoa, and then made the T motion. First, he made the T motion and said, get out of here, when he got a second tech.
Amazing.
And then after he yelled some more, he went, hey, yo, 3 technicals. And the cameras just got it. And I wonder if this is a thing. I feel like the Knicks have dedicated a camera operator to always follow Josh Hart because he's been having really good off court, not necessarily off court, but just off main focus reactions.
Yeah. I feel like he even tweeted something about that. Like, hey, why is there always a camera on me?
Exactly.
Well, partially because you're in the NBA, but also I think because people have realized that you're interesting.
Right. I think in the first game where he played, he was incredible and had all these cool reactions where he was hyping up the crowd and stuff. And it was so fun that I think that there was the emphasis of, you got to get a camera at this guy, especially because he does a lot of things. Even in this last game, he was incredible. I think he had 4 points. He's just one of those guys where he gets a bunch of steals, weird rebounds, saves a ball before it goes out of bounds. Just one of the truest examples of the stats don't tell the story guys. And I think that might be contributing to camera people following him around as like, look, he's going to do something, so you just got to get something on him at all times. And now we're getting some cool off-court reactions. So there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, he's the quintessential sort of guy that a Knicks fan would appreciate because he's just all effort all the time. He does the little things, the intangibles, if you will. He's part of the reason that I always thought that Joakim Noah would be beloved in New York, and unfortunately, he was injured to the extent that it didn't work out that way. But it's funny that the Knicks added Josh Hart and the Bulls added Patrick Beverley because what they bring to the table is, it's not the same game, but like in terms of doing things that a stat sheet will never see, that's so much of Pat Bev's game. And the Bulls, don't look now. They're probably still not even going to make the play-in, but don't look now. They are 3-1 since they signed Patrick Beverley. Now, did they blow a 21-point lead to the lowly Detroit Pistons last night and only get bailed out at the end of the game because Jaden Ivey inadvertently called a timeout when they didn't have timeouts left? Sure. But all that to say, Patrick Beverley called the timeout too. He did a Josh Hart where as soon as Jaden Ivey called a timeout, he immediately put his hand up in the technical foul symbol and everyone knew what was happening. So rough moment for Jaden Ivey. If anyone is confused as to what I'm saying or the speed at which I am saying it, you're not listening to this at 2 times. I'm just talking this fast for no reason. If you call a timeout when your team does not have any timeouts left, it is a technical foul and the other team gets the ball. This was made most famous by Chris Webber doing it when he was in college at the University of Michigan, and it was awful for him because it was on the biggest possible stage. But yes, anyway, the Patrick Beverley effect appears to be real. You know, we got Patrick Beverley, Alex Caruso, Josh Hart, all these people who they might put up 3 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, and 3 steals. But at the end of the day, you're like, I do feel like I could tell a distinct difference when they're on the court. I guess the closest thing is the plus minus of how a team plays when someone's on the floor, but there's no real exact metric for a lot of the things that these guys do.
Yeah, you definitely have to look at advanced numbers to really see the full story. And I think that's just why it's important for people to understand a little bit more than just the straight up statistics when you look at if someone's playing well or not, because the stat sheet isn't going to tell the full story for a lot of these players. Even some stars of teams like Draymond Green, he, even at his peak, didn't always put up the most impressive stat lines, but his presence was very felt. So I think it's cool that for the Knicks and for the Bulls, and there was someone even talking about this on Twitter with JJ Redick, and they were going back and forth a little bit. They were discussing, are role players more important now than ever? Because you look at what Patrick Beverley has done for the Bulls, you look at what Josh Hart has done for the Knicks, and JJ Redick kind of was like, role players have always been important. I don't know what you're talking about, but you know, now maybe people are getting to appreciate it a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, that's why people make these trades and people think, I mean, there was a lot of backlash, like, why are we giving up a first round pick to get Josh Hart? What's it going to be? And the entire team just feels like they're on good vibes on the court. Apparently there's good vibes off the court. The locker room people are in really good spirits, according to all the reporters. So looks like it's a good trade.
I have one final question for you before we move on. Who would you say is the best example of this kind of player in the WNBA? Who's like a thing doer who doesn't get the perhaps accolades they deserve, but is always could be a Storm player or anyone you can think of that's always involved, but not putting up a huge stat line?
I would say a good example from the Storm last year is Stephanie Talbot. She was on the Storm last year. She's not on the Storm anymore, but she was very much a very versatile, could play a couple different positions, could defend a couple of different positions, could knock down threes, could play well close to the basket, and the stat sheet did not tell the tale, especially when you're on a team that has Breanna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd and Sue Bird and even Tina Charles at one point when she joined the Storm. When you have that many players on the team that are prolific scorers or passers, you're not going to be racking up the points or the assists, but doing all the little things. When I saw her live, when Sal and I went to that game in Phoenix, it was very impressive to see how she was all over the court. So I think that she would be a very good example.
Yeah, I think that's the hallmark of a player like that is they're just involved all the time. You're like, how you were just on this side of the court. How are you now all the way over there still involved in that play? So it's cool to see.
Yeah. So we've got more basketball to discuss. This is another NBQ&A episode. So we're answering your questions, getting a little loose with it, a little less structure, a little more knowledge. We've had some interview episodes of late. Adam thought this would be a good idea for this episode, and I couldn't agree more. We're fresh off of doing our digital live stream last night, which was so much fun. I don't know, I know your family was watching. I've been getting nothing but praises from my family. They said they had so much fun, and it was such a delightful experience for them from a viewing perspective. So I'm glad it went well.
It was so fun. We both challenged ourselves to write 75 couplets, which turned out to be each, which turned out to be quite a lot of work, but it was completely worth it. Do you have any favorites that you're remembering? Do you want to share a favorite of yours just for the people, and then perhaps we can push more sales to our archive of it when it gets up on horsehoops.com?
hopefully by the time you're hearing this, it is live at horsehoops.com/merch, where you can get the digital replay, which will get you access to the full replay, and also a link where you can see the chat replay and everything. So it'll be just like you were there. There is a surprise that I don't want to reveal for Walt Frazier, because I think that it was fun in its absurdity. I'm trying to find a good positive one. I was very proud of my Karl Malone one, but it was very negative. Oh, okay. I think I've got a good one for a positive one for me, because this was one of the few that ended in a 100% vote, because we put them all to a vote.
Nice.
And we got to see which of our couplets the crowd vibed with more. Adam, at the time we did the show, edged me out by just a little bit, but we're going to let things marinate in case people do watch the replay, and we'll do an update
close,
next episode. And a lot of the votes were like one vote each. I'm very happy with the performance. I'm glad it was just close, and you put in a lot of work as well, so I'm not over here stomping my feet about the loss. But I was very proud of one of mine for Clyde Drexler, which was, with gravity-defying dunks, he was a physics perplexer. Blazers and Rockets great, Clyde the Glide Drexler. What about you? What's one that you were proud of?
That is a really, really good one. I'm trying to decide. I don't want to do any of my more inappropriate ones. I had a few that were like weirdly...
Little Blue.
Yeah, Little Blue. Oh, how about the Chris Paul one?
Oh, that was a good one. That was really good.
All right. He's the same height as me, so damn skilled, and he's this tall. Just don't tell Scott Foster, because here comes Chris Paul.
Incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible stuff. So if you want to hear 75 each of those, you can head on over to horsehoops.com/merch, and hopefully it is live. If it is not live, it will be live in the coming days, and you get access to that replay. And it was a really fun time. So with that out of the way, let's prepare for the rest of this episode. Let's head on over to the Teal Memorial Locker Room. Let's try to quick do a Teal couplet. If nice, refreshed, and good is how you want to feel, head over to the locker room named after Teal.
Pretty good for just coming up with it on the spot.
I do what I can. You know who else does what they can?
I would say our patrons.
Yes, our patrons, and of course, want to give a special shout out to our producer level patrons: Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Testa, Trust the Process, Siobhan Ellsbury, He Sells Seashells, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Kid the Conqueror, Basketball is Life 2, Michaela Loves Allison, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Borgelli, Weird Questions, Steph Curry for 3 big ones.
Bang.
Hi Trish, Ginger Spurs Boy, Nicole Arsenault, Something Mean About the Knicks, Stubby Boardman Gets Paid, and Chase Underulo.
Nice.
You know what else is nice?
Getting dough from sponsors, bro.
Getting dough from sponsors, but not just getting dough from sponsors. Getting dough from sponsors who help the world. Yes, that is because our sponsor for this episode is Tab for a Cause, the easiest way to raise money for charity. If you go to tabforacause.org/horse, you can add it to your browser in a couple of clicks. And then every time you open a new tab, you get a picture of a very nice, serene background, little nature landscape photography type deal. There'll be tiny little ads in the corner, but those ads raise money for charity. And every time you open a tab, you get a heart, and then you can click on your total number of hearts, and then you can decide where Tab for a Cause donates the funds. They have a lot of different charitable organizations. Sometimes they do more timely things. They have other different pushes for particular funds that they're trying to support. It's a really good situation. They are a nice company that is doing a nice thing. And if you're like Adam and I, you usually use a bunch of tabs. We'll do our tab monster check. How many tabs do you have open right now, Adam?
It's not as bad as it's been, but it's still double digits. I think right now we're looking at about 12.
All right.
But a lot of them are pertaining to horse, so I feel okay.
That is good. I'm a bit slim right now. I'm at 5 total, but I do have 3 open for horse and then 2 other ones for work that I just didn't close. So that's the joy of us recording.
Basically 0. I mean, you basically have negative tabs. I mean, you're not supporting the cause here. What are we doing?
That's basically what happens when you start recording at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
I don't have time to dick around on the internet. But if you go to Tab for a Cause, if you go to tabforacause.org/horse, tabforacause.org/horse, you can sign up. Super simple, super easy way to raise money for charity. Now, before we move on, we can discuss our individual exploits now that we are done pitching the combined live show. So, Adam, what's going on in the wide world of Mamawala?
Well, by the time you listen to this, I will already have been in Colorado. So So thank you to our pal Lisa, assuming you ended up coming to that show that you told me you were coming to. Hopefully I've got to meet some other folks out there, but hopefully the shows in Colorado went well. Other than that, I do have some touring coming up. You can check that out at my website, adammamawala.com/standup. And as we're recording this today, we're recording it a bit early. I'm actually going to be on an Amazon Prime sports talk show called Game Breakers. So if you want to look up the archive of that, just go to Amazon Prime if you have a subscription, look up Game Breakers, and I will have been on the episode on Thursday, March 2nd. So that'll be kind of fun. I'm recording that later today in a studio here in New York.
I was going to say, today is Thursday, March 2nd.
Exactly,
that is very cool and exciting. Cool.
Yeah. How about you? What do you have coming up? I know you are a traveling man. You will already be out and about by the time this drops. So where are you? Where will you be?
So at the time this releases, I will be in Amsterdam. And some shows will have already taken place, Dublin and London. But going forward, as I continue through Europe in the future, will be Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Oslo, Berlin, Munich, and Helsinki. You can get tickets to, I will say some of those because some of them are already sold out at my website.
Add a second show. I'm
trying. In a lot of cities I am. So it's schub.es/tour, or you can go to the individual live show pages for Potterless and the Newest Olympian. But yeah, in all the cities where we sold out, we're trying to add shows and trying to upgrade to bigger venues and stuff like that, which is just a delightful problem to have. It's a very fortunate problem to be like, oh no, too many people want to see me do podcast stuff. Ho hum.
Well, if you thought you had a lot of 1099s this year, just wait till next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's going to be fun. I'm going to have to start my taxes super early next year. And I also should probably start my taxes for this year soon because it is March and that's usually when I start them. And I got to get on that right now, but taxes are boring. Let's talk about stuff that's fun. We will not be doing an NBQ&A for this episode since the entire episode is NBQ&A. So let's do a quick little full court press, get it like the news, and then we'll do NBQ&A.
I do get it.
All right. So there's some happy news. There's some not so happy news. Happy news at the end to end on a good note. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Unhappy news. There's some injuries that aren't great. LeBron got hurt. He hurt his foot. And the reports are that he's going to be out for a while. And now it's just starting to become the situation we feared, which makes sense, is that LeBron's getting old and he's going to be getting hurt. And I think this is very much ramping up my I got to go see LeBron timeline. I really have not seen him perform basketball live. That was a weird way to say it. I've never gone to a LeBron game.
That sounds like someone asking about sports who's more of a theater person. Like, how did your performance go? The game was good.
Right. And on the flip side, every time that I have intermission for one of my live shows, Kelly texts me and says something to the effect of, how's halftime?
It's so, I remember it most from the time when I was in the musical, but it also coincided with tennis tryouts. And I would get back from tennis tryouts and inevitably people in the musical would be like, ooh, how was your tennis audition? It's like, it was fine.
So I got to see LeBron. I got to make this happen. It's sad. You never want to see anyone get hurt. You never want to see a great get hurt. Right. And I like, as much as you want to clown Laker fans, the Lakers were much more exciting ever since kind of revamping their team at the trade deadline. And this just kind of takes all of the wins out of their sails. Because if you don't have LeBron on your team, I don't know that you're going to be able to push from 13th place up into playoff contention, even though the West is wild in that. At one point in time, a couple days ago, there was only 2 losses. So 2 losses in the loss column separating like the number 4 and the number 13 team, which is just truly absurd.
Yeah, that's a tough break for the Lakers. I would say if you're going to go see him, presumably next year or something, I think at this point you got to wait until the day of the game. As much as you want to try to get a deal on tickets, you don't want to risk him getting injured. That's what happened to me. My lovely father purchased tickets for the two of us to go see Michael Jordan when he was on the Wizards, and then by the time the game came around, he was hurt, and it was like, well, now we just have to watch a Nets-Wizards game.
Yeah, I think I would probably try to do something where I buy tickets to a game very early in the season in hopes that he's been resting and being healthy all off season, and that the chances of that blowing up in my face would be lower. But was there another injury that
LaMelo
we were going
Ball
to discuss? Oh, yeah, he had a season-ending one, and it's just one of those things where you just hear the player say something popped, which is two words you never want to hear in succession.
The dreaded non-contact injury, which refers to an injury that happens when there's no collision, there's no, falling from a great height. You're just dribbling or running down the court, and you step weird,
or jumping,
and
or landing.
Something happens, and in LaMelo's case, what was weird was that he had left ankle injuries throughout the season, and it ended up being his right ankle that broke. But it was doing like a crossover dribble and planted his right foot and then crumbled to the ground. And I don't know. I mean, LaMelo now has a broken ankle. Lonzo has been shut down for the season. I don't recall if we discussed that the last time, but he hasn't played for the Bulls in over a year now. And at this point, it seems like his career is in jeopardy because they can't figure out what is wrong with his knee. So tough break for the Ball family, as much as we love to make fun of them. It's not so fun.
What's strange with the Ball family is that LeVar Ball, we haven't talked about LeVar Ball in 2 years.
Where's he been?
He's chilled out. John Morant's dad is way worse. It's so weird. Way worse.
It's almost like LeVar Ball had to be talking a bunch of shit until his kids got to a certain level. And now that they are, he's like, I should probably take a step back.
I should. And maybe one of their agents came to him and said, sir, you are costing your children and indirectly you lots of money.
Right.
It's in your best financial benefit to just shut up. Though I did see wildly in the San Francisco airport when I was in California, someone wearing a big Baller brand hoodie. I did a triple take, one for each B. It was absurd. I could not believe my eyes.
Wait, but they don't still wear Big Baller sneakers, right?
They do not.
Thank goodness, because otherwise people would be slandering the shoes.
Well, I think that happened. I think Lonzo switched to Nike or something at one point when, I don't think it was a serious injury or something, but there was one point I remember it was like, so he slipped in his shoe or whatever. And then like the next day it was like, Lonzo Ball has re-upped with Nike.
I don't understand why so many players wear their shoes so big and or so loose. Like Kevin Durant famously wears a size bigger shoe than he needs to. DeMar DeRozan last night lost a shoe in the middle of a play. And then when he put it back on, they showed him lacing it up. And it looked like how you put on your shoes after you're done playing basketball when you just want to like let your feet breathe a little bit. It's very odd to me.
That's the only thing I could see is I know your foot expands when you do a lot of prolonged activity. Some people, when they get running shoes, they get them a half size bigger because if they're going to be running long distances, it expands.
Interesting.
So maybe if you're playing that much basketball that often, your feet are often more expanded than they are normally. So maybe you have a performance shoe size and then a everyday casual shoe.
I just want to say for the record, I have never run an amount during which my foot has expanded. And I never will.
Yeah, I'm very much give me a good 5K and then let me just call it a day.
Anything beyond that, so boring.
Yeah, not for me. So hopefully those players can rest up and get better. Never want to see injuries at all. Never fun. And then another thing, less happy, is that there's been more information brought to light about the Ja Morant situation. Now, you may be wondering, which Ja Morant situation? Which is never a question you want to ask, but unfortunately, there's more information about the specific situation where he fought a 17-year-old kid, and it got a little worse because what we had known was that there was an argument. Basically, he had a pickup game going in the offseason. One of the players playing there was a 17-year-old kid, and he was probably a really good kid. You know, I'm assuming one of those AAU high prospect types. And they got into some sort of argument. The kid threw a ball at Ja. Ja threw punches at him. And now this report says that getting a gun was involved. You know, threatening the kid with a gun came there. And, you know, that's not what you want to see. And obviously we'll have to see as things go, especially because some of this information came out via TMZ. So we'll see how things go, but it just doesn't sound great. And it's not something you want from anyone, let alone a rising face of the league.
Yeah, and I'll post a link to it if I can find it, but I saw a response to this story with a TikTok video that is a compilation of all of Ja's attempts over the past few years to, you know, show how tough he is. And it's using the thing from 8 Mile where Eminem is like, you went to Cranbrook, that's a private school, just talking about Ja's background and how there's no reason for him to be acting like this, especially when, as we've said, there's just so much money at stake.
Yeah, I saw that TikTok as well. It's very funny stuff. So hopefully this can just be a blip on Ja's career radar. Maybe he leaves all this behind, and I don't know. You just don't want to see this kind of thing happen, and you don't want to see 17-year-old kids be punched in the face or have guns pointed at them. So let's leave that behind us. And now for the final thing of Full Court Press, let's talk about something happy for at least the residents of Arizona or fans of the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant played his first game as a Phoenix Sun, and he played quite well. Yeah. And the Suns looked good, and Devin Booker looks happy. It seems like things are going well in Phoenix, and I know they are a long-time franchise that has had their downs and some ups, but a lot of downs. And I am very happy that things seem to be going well in Phoenix.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to watch. I think it's one of those things where whatever you think about Kevin Durant or the fact that he likes to join super teams and that sort of thing, first of all, it's kind of a league of super teams at this point, so it's silly criticism. But also, if you're a basketball fan, you have to be excited about the prospect of watching a combination of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton in the playoffs. Like, that's going to be very fun.
With Chris Paul. Yeah, it's
him.
A solid
They're so good that I forgot Chris Paul. Yeah.
Also that guy. But what's very cool about this is 4 years ago, Devin Booker was asked about super team culture and stuff like that. And Devin Booker was quoted as saying, "I'd like to build a super team. I'd like the super team to come to me." And now the prophecy has been fulfilled. And that's very cool because you look at some of the lineups that Devin Booker has had to put up with over the years. And this is a very common Knicks thing where people will just post screenshots of lineups from 2015 and stuff where we had Alexei Shved as our starting point guard and stuff like that. Lou Admonson as the starting center. Just really depressing stuff. You'll just see Knicks fans post screenshots of that and say, if my significant other is ever wondering how loyal I am, just know that I watched this team. That's a similar thing that happens with the Suns. Teams that had Marquise Chris in the starting lineup, Dragan Bender, Tyler Ulis. And if you're listening and you're thinking, I've not heard of any of these names, it's because they're all really bad. They're all really, really bad. And not just bad players that were taken with top 10 draft picks. So the Suns messed up a lot and often, and Devin Booker stuck around, and he is now reaping the benefits. He's got a really good team around him.
I'm getting some PTSD just remembering some of the Bulls lineups that I've heard over the past 20 years, where it's like starting five of Khalid El-Amin, Marcus Fizer, Dalibor Bagaric,
Bruno Fernando, yeah?
I don't remember him on the Bulls, but there have been a lot of anonymous names over the years. So,
or no, I'm sorry, was it Felicio?
Oh, Feliciano or Felicio. Yeah. I'm confusing baseball and basketball players, but yes, Felicio.
Cristiano Felicio, who was a player that was not very good for the Bulls, and then they weirdly paid him a lot of money.
Yeah, it was kind of their Mozgov, 4 years, 70 million, and people are like, what?
Yeah,
You've seen this guy, right?
Deal where he got paid $10 million per year. And I remember when it happened, one of my buddies, John, is a really big Bulls fan. And we immediately text each other like, what's happening? What is going on? Is this
a very expensive prank?
Is this a bit? What's going on? So glad Devin Booker is living a happier life with Kevin Durant on the team. And look, Suns are going to be fun to watch. And it's a very interesting year for basketball. So many teams have a shot at the title. Yeah. And I think the playoffs are going to be so much fun. It's such a even league right now that I think that a lot of the first round matchups are going to be really intense. There's a good amount of teams. Like if you look at each conference, especially the West, you're going to have more than 4 teams that think, yeah, we could win the title. And by definition, only 4 can make it out of the first round,
right?
Which is just absurd. Yeah. It's going to be a really good playoff year this year. It's really fun.
It is. And I'll tell you what, we are recording this a full, 10 or 11 days before the episode drops. So we are really tempting the basketball gods to come up with some sort of dramatic news that we will have missed. But I will ask you this to close out Full Court Press. As we're recording this now, I believe the Knicks are 7-0 with Josh Hart on the team. If they are still undefeated by the time this episode drops on Monday, March 13th, I think it is it true that you will fly through Europe on your own? You'll be so excited that you won't even need a plane. You will just be floating around from city to city.
Yeah, I think I will just either that or I'll just have so much energy and excitement that the only thing I can do is run from country to country. I will run across the English Channel.
You're just going to Forrest Gump your way through Europe?
Exactly. Oh, that would be absurd. Yeah, it's even the winning streaks is always so interesting because I am so superstitious. I'm so superstitious. And I'm always very cautious to tweet positive things when the Knicks are playing well because I don't want to jinx it. But this is a really fun run of basketball we've been playing.
Yeah, I'm not superstitious, but I would say I'm a little stitious. That's for all the Office fans out there. All right. Shall we wrap it up?
Yes, that is the conclusion of Full Court Press. You will now hear some inserted ads. They're locally inserted. So if you're international, they might be in your country's native language. They might be about your specific city. If anything's weird, like you get a gun show ad, let us know. Gambling stuff, we're okay with because this show is marked as explicit. I know for some of my other podcasts, I say no to gambling because they're targeted more towards kids, but you're all adults. You should know that gambling is not a good idea. Just let us get paid for that. Ignore those ones. But once those ads are complete, we will get back and finish out this episode with NBQ&A. And we are back. Now, Adam, you've compiled a big old list of NBQ&A questions. So let's round out the episode with said questions.
I have indeed. And we had so many left over from the last NBQ&A that we didn't even crowdsource for this one. So rest assured, we will do that again. Feel free to keep the questions coming. As always, if you reach out to us and you're a patron, we will prioritize you. But let's get started with the first one that pertains to something that just happened. Christine Zaqueen, hopefully I'm saying that properly, asks, how do you think the All-Star game would change if they took out the refs? Do you think fouls would become more egregious or that players focus on, quote, pure basketball rather than playing the foul game? I mean, they don't really play the foul game a lot in the All-Star game anyway, but it does often feel when you're watching it like the refs do nothing because there are very few fouls called. I don't know how I feel about that. How do you feel that would impact the game, or would that even be something that would be considered?
I don't think it would ever be considered. I do think it would be interesting just because I am so used to playing games where you have to call your own fouls and pickup games and stuff because I don't play a lot of organized league sports because those cost more money and take longer commitments and you can just play pickup basketball. So it would be interesting just to see players do that. Like I would just love to see, there's always those Instagram highlights of players playing pickup during the off season. I would pay for whatever the league pass equivalent would be of the camera at Lifetime Fitness at that rooftop gym in New York.
Oh yeah.
I would just love to see how that works. You see all the highlight clips, but you never see like the full game. And I don't even know what they do in terms of scoring. Do they play by 1s and 2s? Do they play by 2s and 3s? Do they play to 21? How do they do all that? It would be interesting. I do think it would lead to a bunch of arguments, which probably would not be fun for most people as a viewing experience. But for me, as someone that would love to see how certain players would argue with each other, I would find it
and
gripping.
Let them ref their own game. That would be, for a true basketball fan, that would be compelling. I have a friend of mine who plays in a game that's like a typical pickup run where I think they cap it at 15 people. So you're just rotating, 2 teams are on, 1 team is off. But they all ref their own games. And he was saying that like usually people respect the call, but it is pickup, so people get chippy. And he was saying, which is not surprising to me at all, that the people who complain the most about calls against them are the worst refs, which totally checks out.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. That does make sense. Yeah, I've talked about on the show before that there was one time where I played pickup in a situation where people called fouls and there were foul shots. And it was weird because when you would get close to the scoring at the end, people would like try to get fouled like you do in an NBA game. And it's just like, what are we doing? We're just here to hoop. So I don't think it'll ever happen in an all-star game. But yeah, you're right that the refs are basically useless. So like people aren't playing hard enough defense in the All-Star game to warrant it. I would hope that something changes to where the All-Star game looks more like a regular game of basketball and then it warrants actual refereeing, because that first year where they did the ELAM ending, it was really fun. And I hope we can rekindle that flame because that was such a good All-Star game and it has not been anywhere near as good since.
So the ELAM ending, we've talked about it before. Basically, there's a target score. So once you get into that final period, it's just whoever gets to that score first. But have you heard, and we didn't talk about this in Full Court Press, that they're considering doing that for overtime?
Yeah, they are considering doing it for overtime, which I feel like could be fun, but I do love a good double overtime, triple overtime game. I understand why they don't necessarily want to do it. I think it could be something, and I would hope they don't do it for Baseball Reference the way that baseball did extra innings, where the second it gets to extra innings, they do the ghost runner, and now they've made that permanent for non-playoff games. I feel like with basketball, maybe give us one standard overtime period because it's only 5 minutes.
Right.
Give us one standard overtime, and then maybe instead of second overtime, you could do a target score, because target score is still extra fun and it's hype and it's something different, unlike the baseball runner thing, which is purely just we want the game to end, and it's, I would say, far less interesting. I think that the ELAM ending stuff is just as interesting. So I would say give us a regular overtime. And then if it goes into a second one, then yeah, you can do that if we don't want to have things run long or if players play too many minutes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and this was kind of in reaction to a recent Kings-Clippers game in which Kawhi Leonard played 46 minutes. The Clippers ended up losing the game, hashtag light the beam. But yeah, I could not agree more. And in baseball, what we're referring to is that a couple years ago, it was during the like COVID season. I think they were just trying to have games not go as long. Where all of a sudden, if the game goes to extra innings, they just put a runner on second base. So there's like a ghost runner, and then it theoretically makes the extra innings go faster. But I'm with you in terms of like, it was a correction to a problem that wasn't really in existence, meaning that, yes, no one thinks that baseball teams should be playing 19 innings because they're going to be exhausted. But the percentage of games that go beyond 12 innings is very small, in the same way that the percentage of NBA games that get into double and triple and quadruple overtime, it's like you see it once or twice a season. So I think, and that's how I feel about baseball. It's like, if we're going to do the ghost runner, do it starting in the 12th inning. Let there be a couple innings that play out, see if the game ends of natural causes, and then otherwise we will get the assist in there. So yeah, I totally agree. And it's also a timely question as it pertains to baseball that Christine asks, because a couple days ago there was a spring training game that they finished without umpires. I don't know if you saw that, but the Orioles and I forget who were playing a spring training game. The team that was leading after the top of the 9th inning, everyone was like, hey, we still want to keep playing. Like, we're here essentially for practice. So they just had a catcher from one of the teams come out and call balls and strikes.
Very fun stuff. Love it.
Very
Take matters into your own hands.
Totally. Now, this next one, I'm very excited to talk about this. This is from a Twitter user, Benny Ha. The question is, have you guys ever heard of Slamball? If so, what are your thoughts? And would you play it? Yes, I have. And yes, I would. But I would think about it more because I am 35.
Yes, I have heard about it. Yes, we have done an episode about it.
Ooh.
So if I did it as that actually happened, just the history of Slamball. So I couldn't tell you what episode, but most podcasting apps, or at least the one that I use Pocket Casts. They're not paying me to say this, but it's a really good app. I think you can even search within episodes for stuff. Yeah. So if you went to Horse and just searched Slamball, we did a portion of an episode about it. And I certainly would not play it because of
horrific injuries. People's bones sticking out of their legs.
Well, specifically, I used to jump on trampolines all the time. I had a trampoline growing up from ages like 11 until we moved to Texas, maybe even earlier. Like, I was very good on a trampoline, flips, all that kind of stuff. I would even take a skateboard that I took the wheels off of, and I would do like skateboard tricks and stuff on a trampoline. I loved my trampoline. And in college, I broke my leg at one of those trampoline parks because I was doing all these intense flips and stuff, and I landed on my ankle a little bit weird. And from that moment on, I just decided I'm never getting on a trampoline again. It's just not worth it from a cost-benefit perspective.
Do you know how much more money people have to pay in insurance if they have a trampoline in their backyard? It's like having a pool.
Yeah, I can't fault that. But yeah, I basically looked at it and thought, okay, best case scenario, okay, I jump a little bit higher than normal. Cool. Worst case scenario, broken leg. Yeah, I'm never getting on one again. And I've never been on a trampoline since, and I don't think I ever will.
I had a similar experience with bikes. I just didn't ride a bike for like 10 or 15 years because that is the reason that I don't have a real front tooth.
Ah, I didn't know that.
But if you haven't pieced together what we're talking about and you haven't heard of Slamball, basically Slamball was a basketball league that it's like putting a basketball hoop at a trampoline park. That's the easiest way to describe it. Now, what this resulted in was some really it looked like if the game NBA Jam were in real life. That's how it ended up playing out. Now, of course, the rims were padded. It's not like they were, ripping their limbs off with a metal rim. But there were still really bad injuries because think about it, right? It's like driving a car, right? If you're driving 40 miles an hour and you get in an accident, it's going to be exponentially worse if you get in a similar accident going 100 miles an hour. And in 100%. Slamball, people like Mike and I, like, we are normal people who are reasonably athletic, but I don't know, what are we jumping? A foot or two? Like, what's our vertical leap?
Right.
In
not that
Slamball,
much.
if you're jumping 8 feet in the air, if you land weird, there are going to be some problems, and clearly you learned that for yourself. So it's like fun in theory, but I don't know that I would play it. I would probably watch it if they brought it back, like they brought back the XFL. I mean, I don't know that I would watch it if people were getting horrifically injured all the time, but it was certainly compelling.
And the other thing with Slamball is that the slam was around in multiple uses of the word because tackling people and stuff was encouraged. They played it in like a hockey rink type situation, and you could like check dudes and stuff. So not only do you have danger just by adding the trampolines, but you could basically just hit dudes, and it was dangerous all around. So I agree. I would never play it. 0% chance. It just sounds. I would like do it alone. Like I would go to a Slamball court and then not play a game, but just like try stuff myself. But in an actual game, no, thank you.
Right. I would agree. Shall we move on to the next question?
Let's do it.
All right. We got this email a while ago, and apologies to Kelsey for the delayed response, but it just goes to show that if you email us, we will do our best to get back to you, whether it's on an episode or responding via the old keyboard. But the subject says G League rule and music recommendations. I'm intrigued already. The message says, "Sup, I love your podcast. It's a fun way to get an idea of what's happening in the world of professional basketball without too much time commitment. I coach middle school basketball in Austin, Texas, both the boys team and girls team for the school where I teach. This has inspired the following 2 questions. Number 1, I think I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, Mike. Do you have any recommendations for middle school appropriate songs to add to my practice playlist? I know you've done a 3-on-3 of songs about basketball, but what about songs to play basketball too? Admittedly, I missed a chunk of episodes in the middle, so if you've covered this, I'll have to go back and give it a listen. But let's start with that one. Do you have any songs right now, or even that you listened to when you were playing basketball, that you want to recommend for a basketball practice that wouldn't be too inappropriate for the youth?
Well, if you want to go full cheesy, obviously you can do things like Get Your Head in the Game or Basketball by Curtis Blow, or some of the songs that teams play, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sixers, or Go New York, Go. I do have a playlist on my Spotify. You can just like search my username on Spotify, it's just Shubes. And I have a playlist called Feel the Rhythm, Feel the Vibe, which is my general like doing athletics / doing mundane work tasks playlist. And it's just very upbeat, kind of moving songs that if you zone them out in the background are still fun to listen to as well. And it's just got a bunch of different like upbeat songs. I don't think many of them are very explicit, but you can always fade out the explicit ones from your playlist. But that's just that's what I listen to. Like if I'm shooting at a gym alone and I've got my earbuds in, I throw on my Feel the Rhythm, Feel the Vibe playlist. Do you have any particular songs you listen to when you hoop?
Well, I guess I'll start by saying that I'm shocked that you didn't throw some BTS in there. I mean,
BTS is on that playlist that I mentioned, so indirectly I did.
There you go. I don't really have anything specifically. I mean, I think anything that's upbeat is usually good for playing basketball too. At the risk of sounding like a basic B, I do like Jack Harlow. I feel like a lot of his music is not super inappropriate. So I imagine you could also find like an edited. Is there Kids Bop Jack Harlow?
Ooh, that could be fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, usually rap is what I want to play basketball to, just because it's all about rhythm, and I feel like basketball is a sport that is also rhythm based. But look, if you want to hoop to Gloria Estefan, who am I to stop you? So whatever makes you happy. But let's get to the second question, and you'll appreciate this. My team's got the opportunity to play at the, is it HEB Center, or how do you pronounce it? I know it's a grocery store.
Yeah, HEB.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
HEB's so good.
Kelsey says, my team's got the opportunity to play at the HEB Center on the Austin Spurs court. That's the G League team. And then sit courtside for a game. During the game, the players only got 1 free throw worth multiple points each time there was a shooting foul. What's up with that? Thoughts, opinions? Did you know about that?
Yes, I did. It's a rule. I know that they implemented it in the G League. I didn't know it was still going on, But the G League is often used to test out different things that they might bring into the NBA. The G League is where they first tested that offensive rebound not being 24 seconds, but instead only being 14. And it went so well that it did become an official rule in the NBA. So you'll see minor league baseball do this as well. Like I think they tested out the bigger bases and the pitch clock and some of the things that are rule changes this season. So yes, I knew they were doing that. It's something that I know places have done before. I don't know if it's like high school or colleges, but basically the concept is that instead of shooting 2 free throws when you have a shooting foul, and I don't know how they do it if you're shooting a 3, but I know at least for instead of shooting 2 free throws, you just shoot 1 and it's worth 2 points. And if you make it, it's worth 2. And if you miss it, it's worth 0. And it's one of those things where like over the course of a whole game, I guess it would average out to be the same. And then you just save a bunch of time. But it's just one of those initiatives to see if there's ways to make the game not take as long. But what I always find frustrating with those sorts of things is that, especially for basketball, what delays the game is not the game. It's usually just all of the commercials and stuff. Right. So if you want to find a way to make the game go quicker, just have less capitalism, maybe. Like then you'll be fine. The
workaround for that is more advertising on the uniforms. I mean, when you watch a soccer match, there are 2 periods and then there are no ads during those 2 periods. So that is part of the reason that soccer uniforms are covered in all sorts of advertising is because that's the way to advertise. So you can't have it both ways. Either you're going to have jerseys covered in ads and ads all over the courts, which there already are, or you have to have commercials. So yeah, I agree with you. And you'll see that in the playoffs where games are really long because the ad space is that much more valuable. So people want to take advantage of the money they can get and blah, 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 blah. But yeah. Now, did you address like what happens if it's a 3-point foul?
I'm not sure what it is. I think what it is you might shoot 1 and then the second one is like the other thing. I'm not positive, but I think it would be like the first free throw would be worth 1 point. And if you miss it, you miss it. And then you shoot another one. And then it's the 2 points, 1 shot thing. Gotcha. But yeah, this is something that I know exists outside of the G League. Like there might be some youth leagues that do it. I don't know if it's like an AAU thing or a high school or college thing, but it's something that when I heard they were doing it in the G League, it wasn't like a completely foreign concept to me.
Now, this is a related question from a different listener. This is from Matt at mstets714. Do you think a pass to a shooting foul that results in 2 or 3 made free throws should count as an assist? I think it should, since you set up the scoring opportunity and the other player still benefited from your pass. Curious of your thoughts. I do think that should be the case, but I don't think it will ever happen because then it will create this debate about like, well, if you go back and look at this person's stats from before that was implemented, they actually would have averaged 20 assists a game. So in terms of like what an assist is, which is you facilitating someone else scoring, yes, I think that should be how it works. I just think it would be too complicated and they won't do it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it feels unfair, but it's also unfair if you make a great pass and the player just misses a wide open shot. It's something that what I always did appreciate when I would play some of the older NBA 2K games is when you play My Career. So when you play just you create a player and then they're on a team and stuff, you get different pluses and minuses. You have like a teammate rating, and then that gets you, in-game points that let you up your stats and stuff like that. If you score points, you get plus. If you have an assist, you get plus. If you get a rebound, you get plus. If you turn the ball over, it's a minus, stuff like that. They did have a thing in there called pass to foul, where if you passed to someone and it was soon enough where it would have been an assist if they made the shot, but then they got fouled, you got just like a little bit of positive stats. And I always appreciated that because in the game, it was really frustrating because acquiring statistics was the only way to improve your player. So that I always really appreciated. But yeah, it's something that I don't think will ever happen. And it's something that is just, it kind of just like a, it is what it is situation. Right. And I think that, that's why stats shouldn't be the end all be all, because an extra assist here or there if the person made the shot or if they did make the free throws. And then you get into weird things like you're saying where people would say like, oh, well, if this guy's teammates would have shot better, he would have had all these assists. I think it's just one of those like creates more problems than it solves. Right. It just feels very Pandora's box-esque.
I would tend to agree. But thank you for the great question. Let's move on. Now, bear in mind, this question was asked in December of 2022, so it's been 2.5, 3 months. But Josh Rich asks, what's going on with the Utah Jazz?
The Jazz are an interesting situation, and I think they've only become more interesting. So they were trying to be bad this year. They turned out to be very good at the beginning of the season. They fell back down to earth a little bit, but they're still in the mix. They are 31-32 at the time of recording, making them the 9th overall seed, meaning they would be in the play-in tournament range, and they might still stay there, which is wild, even though at the trade deadline, they traded away some of their better players. They just have some people who are playing really well. Lauri Markkanen is having an incredible year. He was an all-star. He was almost an all-star starter. Was he an all-star starter? No,
he was.
He was. Yeah. He was an all-star starter. He was the final pick of the all-star starter. So yeah, I think they've just had people having a surprisingly good season. And, even with trading away some people, they might still be okay, especially now that there's some injuries to some other teams. Like Zion is hurt on the Pelicans. LeBron is hurt on the Lakers. They might not end up being in the playoff picture, but yeah, they were just better than people thought.
They're bad at being bad.
It's just one of those weird situations of like, we'll take whatever we can get. And I think they do have the luxury of, they got so much from that Rudy Gobert trade, so many good players. And that's another thing. One of the rookies they got from that trade, Walker Kessler, has just been incredible.
Yeah, but
He's
also the Donovan Mitchell trade.
Yeah, like they got a lot of stuff from the Donovan Mitchell trade. They got a lot of stuff from the Rudy Gobert trade. And some of those younger players that they got are playing really well. And the fact that Walker Kessler has basically been as good as Rudy Gobert, which the Jazz got in the trade, and like the Timberwolves could have just had Walker Kessler. Like it's just a very, very strange situation that's happening. Like the Timberwolves, if they just kept Walker Kessler and didn't do all the stuff for Rudy Gobert, like might be in the same position, if not a better position. They could have made other trades. It's just a whole mess and a half over there. But the Jazz do have the luxury of like, they got so much going on. Obviously it does ruin their Victor Wembanyama chances, but they have so many other assets in terms of draft picks that it's just kind of like, yeah, let's just see what happens. And you can't be too upset, Victor Wembanyama aside, when you're supposed to be bad and you're just accidentally really good and players are trying really hard and vibes are good and you got a bright future ahead of you because you have so many picks.
They often say to the victor go the spoils, but in this case, to the loser goes the victor.
That is exactly what will happen with Mr. Wembanyama. But yeah, the Jazz have quite a bright future ahead of them. And it's just fun, even though their jerseys are gross. And I hope they rebrand their rebrand as soon as they can.
I would agree. All right, we've got time for a couple more, so let's get to them. This was from a recent email from listener Alyssa. I won't say the last name because, there's no need to. But Alyssa, the subject says, doing the most. Alyssa says, my husband is my go-to basketball question answerer, but he directed me to my favorite podcast for this one. Thank you so much. I'm trying to brainstorm what maneuver would create the most stats at one time. Inspiration, watching Doncic grab a rebound, draw a foul, and make a shot in one swoop. Go Mavs. So I was trying to think, like, what would it be that would all happen in one motion? I mean, that seems like maybe the most, but like...
I think that might be the most. If you did like a putback shot, you would get an offensive rebound, and then you would have a shot. And if you made it, it would be a made basket. And then if you got fouled after, you would then shoot a free throw. So that would be a rebound, a made basket, and then a free throw after. So that'd be 3 things. In the negative sense, when you have an offensive foul, it is a foul and a turnover. But that's only 2 things. Yeah, that's a very fun question. I think what Luka did might be the most, because it's basically, 2 things. There are situations where you can have a lot of points in one possession, where if you made a 3-pointer and got fouled, and then there was a technical foul either before or after, or if you got flagrant fouled, that might be a thing. If you got flagrant fouled on the shot.
Ooh, how about this? This? You steal the ball at half court. So there's a steal. As you steal it, you throw up a 3, get fouled, flagrantly.
Yep.
So it's a steal and 5 points.
Yeah, because then you would have a steal, a shot, free throw for the shot foul, free throw for the flagrant foul, and then your team would get the ball back.
Right.
There's I think the answer is that there's a lot of things that could be like 3 total things, and it also just kind of depends on what you define as one motion. But there are other things where like you could block a shot, and I don't think it counts as a rebound after you block it. I'm almost certain it doesn't. I don't think there's any situation where you could like block it and also get a rebound, like if it hit the backboard after you blocked it or something.
Right.
But you could have something where like you blocked it and then in midair passed it, so you could have a block and an assist in one motion. So a lot of things where you can do 2 that's funky, and just a few I think where there's 3, and I don't see getting more than that.
You know, and it goes to show that even for us, people who love basketball, know a lot about it, you can always be learning things. I don't think I realized until you said it just now that an offensive foul also counts as a turnover. It makes sense that it does,
yes.
But I don't think I realized that.
An offensive foul counts as a personal foul. It does not count as a team foul, and it does count as a turnover.
Wow.
The only reason I know that is because of my Bad on Purpose Fantasy Basketball League that my buddy Ricky founded and I have helped cultivate a little bit. And some horse listeners are in. You get positive points for the bad things, and offensive fouls are some of the greatest things that can happen because it's a foul and a turnover.
Nice. All right. This may be the final one of the day.
Yeah, let's make this the one final question.
Do it. All right, let's broaden this. It's already barely about basketball, so now it's going to be about sports in general. An anonymous user who asked to remain unnamed asks, not basketball related, but what other Olympic sports do you find challenging and or entertaining? Soccer, figure skating, swimming, etc. It's not really Olympic time as we're recording this, but what are some of your favorites? What are some that you've tried personally? What are some that you enjoy?
I really like handball. Handball's really fun because I have played a little bit of it. I took a team sports phys ed class in college and played some handball, and I really enjoyed it. And I try not to think, some people are like, oh, I could be this athlete, whatever. I do conceivably think there is a world where if I played handball just as my only sport ever since I was 5, I would be on the national team. Look, like I just think there's so little handball playing in the US that if I was just dedicated to the craft, I'm athletic enough that if that was my sole focus, I would be on the Olympic team.
I actually have a friend and potential future guest, because we've asked them to come on before. They host a very popular soccer podcast. His older brother was like, in so much as there can be a professional handball player, he was like that level of handball. It is a big New York City sport because it's something that's like all you need is a ball and a wall. So it's like very accessible.
Oh, sorry. I'm not talking about that handball.
Oh, what are you talking
about? The other handball with the squishy ball in the net that's kind of like water polo on the ground. I'm talking about that one.
I thought you meant when you were like smacking a ball against a wall.
No. Because I don't know if that's an Olympic sport anymore. I think it was at one point in time. But team handball is the one I'm talking about. And I truly believe that I could be on the Olympic team if that was the only sport I played my whole life.
That does sound fun. How are you as a swimmer?
Not amazing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. I'm very good in the ocean because that's where I did most of my swimming growing up. We would go to the Jersey Shore every summer. I'm very good in the ocean, and I was a lifeguard in college. So like I get by, but I am much better at treading water and that kind of stuff as opposed to actually swimming laps and stuff. Kelly kicks my butt every time that we have a swimming type race because she grew up in Texas where swim teams are much more of a thing because you can swim in pools year round, whereas growing up in New Jersey, you can have a pool for a couple months out of the year and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know how to do any other strokes other than like the main, I don't even know what it's called, whatever, like the normal swimming.
Freestyle. Yeah.
The peak of my swimming is that I won't drown. That's as good of a swimmer as I ever became. That's
an important level to reach. What Olympic sports do you enjoy watching?
I'm not going to say curling because I feel like curling has like become a thing, and I
do. I think it's fun, and that's high on my list of like sports I actually want to play because it just looks fun as hell.
I mean, I think when I watch I enjoy the Summer Olympics a million times more than I don't think the Winter Olympics need to exist. With all due respect to amazing. I mean, I understand. I guess let me rephrase that. They're not for me. Like.
Sure.
It's fine. But in the Summer Olympics, I really, any sort of like track event, I find so interesting just because, especially now with the quality of camera work that we have, where you have the camera that like follows and tracks the sprinters and hurdlers as they're doing their thing, that to me is absolutely incredible. I never am that interested in things that exist outside of the Olympics during the Olympics, meaning like, yes, it's fun to watch
soccer,
basketball,
golf, tennis.
Yeah, all of that. But like, it's no different than anywhere else you could watch it. To me, what's interesting about the Olympics is that you get to see things that you wouldn't see anywhere else, like a curling or handball, or, you know, there's not like a lot of luge on TV during the other 4 years that are not the Olympics. So yeah, I think I would say track and field is what interests me the most. I love gymnastics for sure. Like the strength that it takes, both in men's and women's gymnastics, to do literally anything that these people are doing. Like when you watch how high these women get when they're doing their floor routines, when you watch some of these guys on the pommel horse or the rings, like the upper body strength that you have to do that, and the core strength it feels impossible.
Yeah. The one thing I will say to close this out is my pitch for the Olympics is that because I struggle with this sometimes it's hard to know like what is impressive, because literally everything looks impressive. And in gymnastics, someone will do 4 flips and they're like, oh, they're supposed to do 5. So this is a really bad performance. And it's just like, what are you talking about? They just did 4 flips. I think that on the broadcast of every Olympic event, they should first show just a regular person doing it, just a normal, non-Olympic, even just like a generally athletic person. Just be like, here, you do the vault, and you do the snowboard cross, and you do the long jump. And they should
just want to see people dying on TV? Is that what?
Maybe not the more dangerous ones, but I think that there should just be a
you
thing.
Do the ski jump.
Give
a shot. What's the worst that could happen?
On the last Olympics, they had a thing where like the Jonas brothers all ran out and were doing Olympic events. Like there should be something where it's like, and before you watch this event, here's somebody trying the pommel horse. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe you should just specifically be the Jonas brothers for every sport.
I'd watch it. They're great. They're so charismatic. Thanks for listening to this episode of Horse. Horse is hosted by Adam Mamawala and Mike Schubert. Our editor for this episode is Kensei Soramaki. The social media is by both of the Horse Boys. The music is by Fatima Kampamanes. The art is by Alison Wakeman. And the website is by Kelly Schubert.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Testa, Trust the Process, Siobhan Ellsbury, He Sells Seashells, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Kate the Conqueror, Basketball is Life 2, Mikhail Loves Allison, Denver Steamed Nuggets, Anna Borgelli, Weird Questions, Steph Curry for 3 big ones.
Bang!
Hi Trish, Ginger Spurs Boy, Nicole Arsenal, Something Mean About the Knicks, Stubby Boardman Gets Paid, and Chase Underrulo. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Horse Hoops, and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops, because
Horse Hoops shot one of those free throws that was worth 2 points and then missed it, and it was really embarrassing.
Brutal. I mean, I don't know if we should ban them from Twitter because of that, but it is a tough look. I'm not going to lie to you. Go to our website, horsehoops.com, for links to some of the fun stuff we talked about today, including a funny John Morant's TikTok, if we can find it, and also more information about the live episode if you missed it, because, man, it was great.
So much fun, so much fun. That should be live at horsehoops.com/merch. And that's one of the ways you can support us, going to horsehoops.com/merch. There's other live show replays. There's a Sup Nerds It's Basketball shirt. And you can also go to patreon.com/horsehoops if you want to support the show, get access to bonus audio, bonus video, bonus writing, merchandise, lots of fun stuff over at the Patreon. We can say your name every episode if you want to be a producer. We can say your name in one episode if you don't want to be at the highest tier. And of course, you get preference in things like NBQ&A if you are a patron. So to close out the episode, we will do what we always do, which is put our hands in the middle and say something on the count of 3. What are we feeling for this episode?
What do you got?
You know, it wasn't NBQ&A and it was fun. We could say NBQ&A on the count of 3, just to put a happy little dot on the exclamation point of the episode. All right, NBQ&A on 3.
1, 2, 3. NBQ&A!
What a fun time.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.